Hello sports fans and welcome back to the Sports Report. Now, this is of course coming out a couple of days after I would usually do my Sports Report wrap-up of each weekend, because I think there's a bit more to talk about with this one than we would usually see. So I want to give it its own kind of time to breathe, and I think the longer that I've left it, the more that I've had time to think about what I actually want to say, as opposed to just my usual recapping of the weekend's events. George Russell won the Singapore Grand Prix, Max Verstappen came second, and Lando Norris came third. Mclaren also wrapped up the Constructors' Championship with a total of 650 points to the next Mercedes 325 points. They have become the second team to clinch the Constructors' Championship in such a short amount of time, following Red Bull's 2023 season. All of this is immensely positive. However, the weekend itself, it felt as though it turned quite sour following the checkered flag, as apparently everyone just lost their fucking marbles. There are two sort of main issues that were brought about following the Singapore Grand Prix that I'm going to talk about. Issue number one, I feel very qualified to speak about. For those who don't know, I study both journalism and PR. It's always interesting having these introspections, but specifically within my area, right? Like, I want to be a journalist when I'm older, and I'm also studying PR. So being able to see it play out in a real life way is really good for me, because it tells me what I should do and what I shouldn't do. And what I shouldn't do is be exactly like both the Skysports F1 and the F1TV commentators. It's been a long-standing complaint all year, specifically with Sky, that they are incredibly British biased, or that they are just top team biased, and they tend to ignore the lower ranked teams in favour of showing us 40 laps of someone trying to close a gap when further back in the field someone has overtaken 28 cars. I watch Sky, so I feel like I am equipped to talk about their broadcasting. But let me just tell you, I've already had a sook and a cry about how biased they are towards British drivers, but this was just like straight up, they didn't show us the race. There were so many shots of the crowd, or like helicopter shots showing the city, as compared to on-track action or post-track action as the drivers were leaving the car. I believe I've seen that the F1TV spent a significant portion of time discussing how Carlos Sainz's partner could stand with her arms crossed for 2 hours. Now, what in the fucking hell does that have to do with anything? Why are we discussing that when, again, there is on-track action? Going back to Skysports, the biggest instance of bias in this race that I noticed was when it came to Oscar's slow pit stop. There's something that I feel like just kind of got brushed under the rug a little bit, because there were just other things going on at the time. When he had a slow pit stop, immediately it was, oh, well, he better not ask for his position back. Oh, that's just the luck of the draw. That's a shame. Whereas literally last week, it was a very different story. Quick, McLaren better fix this. What are they going to do about this? Now, one thing that we speak about a lot in journalism is, how do I be objective about what I am saying? When someone has a slow pit stop, the way you speak about it has to be consistent, because it is an objective thing. If someone has a slow pit stop, it's not the end of their race, it's just a bad thing that happened, okay? Talking about it in the way that they do comes across with this blatant bias towards, oh, this is great for Lando. There is a way to say that is not the way that most Sky Sports broadcasters discuss it. Am I saying I know how to do it? No, but when you have this inherent bias, it is very obvious, because it comes across in the way you speak, and you can hear it when you know what to listen for. The way to resolve that, get someone on there who has good journalism practice and won't be blatantly biased towards a driver from their country. How about them apples? Other things that just weren't mentioned at all, and that I don't even know the answer to. Yuki went from 13th to dead last. The Williams spent so long on mediums and it wasn't discussed at all. Continuing with that, in the last 10 laps, Carlos Sainz overtook about, I don't know, fucking 6 drivers or something. I don't know, because it wasn't talked about on the broadcast, but he had an impeccable drive from his pit stop until the checkered flag, no one fucking knew about it. Ferrari, there was little to no discussion of the Ferrari Lyco situation. I had to watch a TikTok about it that explained that from about, lap 7, they were being told to Lyco because of this brake issue that then caused Lewis Hamilton to lose his brakes. But again, it was not mentioned on the broadcast. Same thing with Kimi Antonelli's overtake on Charles because of this Lyco issue. It happened on lap 54. We did not see a replay until lap 60. It was just lucky for me that I happened to be looking at the timing tower and got to see Kimi overtake Charles, and there was no mention of it until much, much later. It felt as though their choices in what radios they were going to play, at least on the broadcast, came down to what was considered funny or dramatic. Of course, we heard a lot about Oscar's incident with Lando at the beginning of the race, and then as much as I enjoyed the Aston Martin radios, they didn't exactly give me any kind of indication as to what was happening in the race. Fernando saying he was going to disconnect the radio, again, fucking hilarious. Like, there are bigger fish to fry, guys. We can have that as well as the actual technical radios that tell me what is going on in the race. Fucking hell. Anyway, I have seen that similar complaints were said about F1TV. Again, I don't watch F1TV, but the fact that this is an issue across all of F1 leads to me at least to say that it's coming from above, and that there is a bigger issue going on there where whoever is in charge of the broadcast or is giving indications to the broadcasters as to what they should be saying is saying focus on the silly, stupid shit and say whatever the fuck you want and don't actually tell us what is going on in the race, because who knows? It might be they're trying to make it more entertaining, but me personally, I find it entertaining when I know why the fuck the car is going slow when it shouldn't be going slow. I'm also watching the sport to see the sport of it. Issue número 2. The fans. As mentioned before, McLaren have won the Constructors' Championship by a fucking mile. But you'd think that they actually instead stabbed everyone's mum multiple times and made sure she was dead as fuck, based on the response that we have seen from many, many fans about their just handling of the whole weekend, okay? I'll be the first to admit, I did not enjoy initially seeing that my preferred driver was overtaken, okay? That's the great thing about shutting the fuck up for a little bit and thinking about it, okay? We actually don't need to go to war with the Norris family because he overtook the driver that we like, okay? I fear that we're struggling there. Now, does it make me enjoy Lando Norris anymore? No. Believe it or not, when the championship rivals each other, you're probably not going to like the other one more. That doesn't mean that for some reason he's getting some kind of additional support from McLaren. He just happened to have a good overtake when he needed to. And that's what racing is about, babes. Anyway, all season we have been asking for the championship battle to heat up and start getting crazier and start seeing Lando and Oscar actually fight each other. We actually got that on Sunday, and everyone is suddenly saying, what about the fairness of it all? We'll get to the papaya rules of it all. But when you have been asking for hard racing and you get hard racing, 1 + 1 is 2. I'm struggling to see the outrage at Lando Norris for doing the right thing. With that being said, there is something that needs to be discussed on a deeper level about McLaren's handling of having a championship battle and the papaya rules of it all. While what Lando did is not the end of the world, the sky is not going to fall in because he did an overtake on his teammate. The precedent that McLaren has set as a racing team is that you do not crash into each other and you race fairly. Whatever the fuck fairly means is up to them on the weekend, apparently. It is not necessarily fair that Oscar got overtaken and crashed into. He didn't receive any damage for it. He didn't then catch up to him and put pressure on him straight away. He spent more time whinging on the radio. Would I have done the same? Yes. Would have anyone else had done the same? Would Lando have done the same? Yes, because of the precedent that McLaren has set. The reason why McLaren has this whole we're together as a team thing is to get their sponsors to be happy with them. Their sponsors are happy when they're getting podiums together. Their sponsors are happy when their car is not being destroyed and it's not costing them money. That's the point of Papaya Rules. They are marketing themselves as the best team to support in Formula One because they don't crash into each other and because they have such a tight control over their drivers. They have them locked in with PR. They look like they're best friends, and some of you guys fall for it. Their PR and their marketing strategy is what runs the team. It's what gets the dollars on the table. Need I remind you of how brokey McLaren was in the early 2010s? Since 2018 onwards, basically, since Zach Brown got his little hands in there, their marketing and their PR has been bulletproof, and that's what's bringing in the money. If your drivers are crashing into each other and are not being friendly and are not doing ads together, you're not going to get any fucking money. It is not a good thing for either of them, and we have seen the fallout for it, particularly for Oscar Piastri. It seemed as though he thought the Papaya Rules was there to help him out and to help his teammate out. It was sold to him as helping you out. We as the team will help you out if you help us out, not the reality. And we've seen that has become more obvious to us after Singapore, because instead of helping him out in the ways that they've done previously, we're not going to do anything as a team, because either way both cars were going to finish. Does this now give Oscar a foot to stand on if he chooses to not play the team game anymore? Yes. Does it feel like it was a little bit of a waste of time? Yeah. Does it matter? No. The race is over. He got fourth, and that's it. That's the fucking end of that situation. On to the fan of it all, now that I've yapped about fucking Papaya Rules for a while. Oscar not being on the initial podium celebrations is not the end of the world. Let me say that again. Oscar not being in the initial podium celebration is not the end of the world. You guys have conveniently forgotten that being in the media pen after the race, if you are not on the podium, is a requirement. You have to do it. Unless you have a valid reason to get out of doing it, you'll be in the pen. Thanks. Off you go. That was my first thought when I saw this whole sucking it up that he wasn't in the initial podium celebration. That podium celebration was for the mechanics who built the fucking car. I believe I saw that mechanics say on Twitter that they happened to see Lando just wandering around because he'd already done his press when he got out of the car. They saw him, got him up on the podium. Okay, was it necessarily fair? No. Does it matter? No, they had celebrations later, okay? This was an impromptu get-together of the gals to celebrate the fact that they won the Constructors' Championship. It is not shady business from the McLaren mechanics hating on Oscar. He had a job to do. He was talking to the media, which is part of his job. Again, it comes back to the PR-ness of it all. McLaren has such a squeaky clean image that when things like this happen, suddenly everyone's losing their fucking marbles. It was a complete oversight from their PR team, but again, they had bigger fish to fry. They do not have complete control over people. That is a fundamental rule of PR. You may want to have complete control, but people still have to have autonomy, and you cannot control another person. You can only advise them things. That's why it's called a briefing. With that being said, I do think it was a little bit what Lando said. He was obviously a bit defensive in the post-race press conference, saying, if you don't think things like that should happen, you shouldn't be in Formula One. Again, that was misconstrued. He was not saying that Oscar Piastri shouldn't be in Formula One. I believe he was addressing people who said that his move was not nice, that they shouldn't be in Formula One. I don't think he was saying that Oscar shouldn't be in Formula One. With that being said, though, that's the point of PR, is to avoid those kind of misconstruction of your words so that your message is clear. Maybe he wasn't briefed properly before that. Maybe his months of media training went out the window in that instance, but he certainly should have thought about what he said. But that's the great thing about sport, is it's not able to be fully controlled. we as fans need to remember that we are just fans of the sport. We only see what is coming at us through the screen, and what is coming at us through the screen will be inherently biased. Whether you are watching Skysports or F1TV or ESPN or any of the other broadcasters, whatever you are watching, you are receiving it biasedly. What you've got to do is deconstruct what you are being brought and make your own opinions, okay? We need to remember that just because we are watching a sport and it is a live broadcast, there is always bias in the media, and that we need to have media literacy to know how to take that in so that we don't make ourselves look like fools. You will also find it much more enjoyable when you are not thinking that everything is negative. This weekend should have been a great big celebration. George Russell got a win. McLaren won the constructors. The championship fight between Oscar and Lando became even closer. Max got involved more. Fuck it, he got second. He's back in the game, boys. Instead, it feels as though both in traditional and in social media, it has been nothing but negativity. Can't we all be friends? Why can't we all be friends? Let's be happy and not be sad. That is a little bit, not so much a recap, but this is a digestion of everything that happened in Singapore, and I hope you enjoyed. We will see you next week in Austin for the American Grand Prix. Thank you for tuning in to Sports Report this week.